Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you, folks, everybody, for being here and putting up with so many speeches tonight. It really is a sign of, endurance that Albertans are known to show. I have to be honest, I really don't, I say this sincerely, know how my name made it onto the list. This is a very high hurdle to have achievements that would get you to be recognized in this rarefied group. And when I found out who the other recipients were, then I realized how I got in, because they all have raised the bar so high. I was able just to slither under it. And I am impressed to be in such company. And I just have to comment briefly. I share with some sympathy the, mistaken identity thing. It happens from time to time with me. I was walking through an airport a few years ago, what I thought was the height of my recognizability. And a guy just ran up to me and said, "Wow, you're right here in the airport." And I said, "Yeah, I have to, take planes and fly places." He said, "Well, I never ever thought I'd have the chance to meet you, but he said, I'll tell you what, you are my wife's hero. Would you mind if I introduced you to her?" And I'm a woman's hero, what can I say? And I said, "Sure." And his wife came up and he said, honey, your hero, he's here. Finally, you get to meet Alan Rock." So I like we just heard, I didn't blow the cover. But I thought, well, she thinks I'm rock. So I said some really nasty things about the Liberal leader, and then I went on my way. So my heart does go out to you. Premier, fantastic that you are here. Where's the Premier? Right here. Just as you've taken over the reins of the government here in one of the toughest times ever. I like to think it was, the crew of us who are with Ralph Klein, but this is tough slugging. But it's working. It's paying off. And when we're hearing across the country true stories of investment flowing south to the United States, and I don't just mean companies, but companies even who are staying in Canada, but all their investments are going south. It's great to see companies that waited, and now that you're here and you're government and you're great people, now they're investing here. Tell us, $16 billion. A great company in our energy sector, Semcams, just last year, $2 billion. That's invested here. The largest private sector post-secondary schools over here, Peter Chung and his group across Canada, investing more after you got elected. It's working because people respond to good policy. And it's very exciting. And would you just join me in congratulating our Premier for getting this province back on track? They want us to be brief, so I won't be. And I wanted to just say, what do you say to a grandkid? I have some grandkids here tonight. I'm saving that for a minute. But when a grandchild says to you, "Public policy forum, what's that going to be like tonight?" And you tell the truth. Well, it's like the Academy Awards, except really boring. So that's about what I could do. But if we want to follow the format of the Academy Awards, that's how I'll say my thanks. First, those actors, they come up and they first say, "Well, I want to thank my producer." And so I want to do that. Thank you, God. Covered that one. And then they say, "Well, I want to thank my director. I am so glad that my director is here tonight." Honey, could you just wave? She's right over here. Val, would you give her a hand? Because I've got enough, Tom referred to my kids, enough of my kids and others like Jason where we've worked together know that anytime I took Val's advice on anything political, it usually worked out. Anytime I didn't, it usually went, isn't that true? It usually went the other way, right, Jason? So I'm just so happy that Val is here. And then they always thank their crew. And a part of the crew, part of our crew is here tonight. I'm just going to ask a whole bunch of our grandsons and a beautiful granddaughter. Would you guys stand? And Malaya, don't be shy. Stand, give a wave. That's part of the crew. Thank you. And my son Logan's part of the crew. He's right over here. And we thank EY for all that they are doing. You know, thinking about the Academy Awards and giving a speech, I'll do like has been done recently over the last recent years with the Academy Awards, and that's just be really political. I may as well just sail into that territory. But this is large, nonpartisan politics. And in doing that, I want to congratulate the Public Policy Forum. Ed reminded me of a Christmas card I sent him when I was in the heat of things, and he was, somewhat immersed in media at the time, reporting on anything and everything, and usually not to my pleasure. And did you say you still have the card, the Christmas card? Or, yeah, still. It says something like, it was for me, because I'm such a loving guy. And I sent it to him. Well, you think you were editor at the time, weren't you? Anyway, higher than that. You owned the whole deal. I said something like, hey, Ed, how about a good story now and then? So, by the way, it never happened. But that shows his good humor. But this forum has performed a huge service to Canada over the years by allowing there to be a space where, and they use in their own material here, diverse views can be discussed and even robustly debated, argued, and yet without denigrating the people who are involved in the discussion, because they recognize there is supreme importance in a democracy for that type of an arena to exist. And I want to say with a slight note of trepidation, I believe the size of that arena is shrinking around us. Because other than places like right here, and the rules that they formidably stick with in terms of allowing robust debate and discussion, I don't have to tell you that debate, especially publicly, in Canada and in the Western world generally, is getting much more difficult, not because somebody might challenge you, but how you might get characterized in the process. And there's been a incremental but steady move away from discussion and debate to demonization. And it's not healthy. And people are afraid to come up with different ideas, sometimes ideas that can change a nation, because of how they might be demonized or pictured. I'm glad that Peter Lougheed didn't worry about that and didn't have to worry about that. Yes, great Canadian, great diplomat. But he also, you remembered from his Edmonton Eskimo years when he knew what it was to give a hit and take a hit. And he came up with some pretty good stuff too. I remember his discussion on, there was a small federal installation on the ledge grounds, and he had it removed. And then a little while later, a couple of years later, it was in a whole building that was owned by the federal government, and the move was to take it away. And they asked him, they said, why are you removing that? He said, listen, we got them off the front porch. It's time to get them off the front yard. So, he knew what it was like to talk tough, but he also knew that tough talk could formulate itself in policy that would be tremendously protective to a province, like the notwithstanding clause. He firmly stood on that and got other premiers to agree. These are the types of discussions you could have. He could say those things and have those discussions, though there'd be pushback, but without the demonization. I'll close with an example in a half hour of what I mean. And I'll use a U.S. example, and it's very recent, rather than pick on a Canadian place of higher learning. Because I saw on the news at a well-known university in the United States, just last week, there was a speaker coming on campus, and there were like riots, there were demonstrations, and they were pushing the administration not to allow the speaker because he was a Nazi supporter. That is serious stuff. That is a very serious allegation. For those of us who know history, and they know the history of our Jewish friends and have studied this. That's the type of thing you don't throw around. What was very curious about this accusation was the person who had been invited there to present was Jewish. And not just Jewish, Orthodox Jewish, observant on the Sabbath and religious holidays. Their kids were in Jewish schools. He was a known supporter of Israel and its right to exist as a Jewish state. And yet the placards they were carrying on campus, they had his picture and they had the mustache, which shows the idiocy of some of these protests. By the way, free protests, which I believe in. And so people would say, well, no one's, that's not going to carry, that's not going to have an effect to dampen speech. Yes, it does, because here is the genius, I will say the evil genius behind that type of thing. That was reported. It was in the news, newspaper. There were clips, so-and-so, and the name, accused of being a Nazi supporter. So the opposers, the people who work to defeat free speech like that, they keep that portfolio of news items. And the next time that person will speak at another university or hotel somewhere, they will approach the hotel owner or the hotel chain, and they'll say, look, you're bringing a Nazi supporter they're going to be speaking in your hotel, or they're going to be on your campus. That's the type of thing that's used. And hard investing hotel owners, they don't have time to read through all this stuff, or the owner of the community center. They just go, I just don't want controversy, and it gets canceled. Folks, this is happening more and more. And that's why we need a forum like this. Ed, to you and to your group, you are performing a huge service, not just in allowing policy to develop, but in sending that message to Canadians that we can have robust debate and we can have it without denigrating one another. Good example that we saw tonight. Dave Mowat talking about sales tax in Alberta. Now, I know some of you will call him names after, but he wasn't denigrated tonight. And Dave, I will tell you that when I was working for Ralph Klein, one of the most fun-filled times of my life, and as Minister of Finance, he said, Stock, I want you, this is kind of a secret mission, I want you to track down the best tax lawyers and explore that a bit. But keep it quiet and come back and tell me what you think. As I was leaving the office, he said, oh, by the way, Stock, this is a secret mission. So if it's found out you were doing this, I never knew you. So I can see there are some items which in life which deserve disdain, but not broadly speaking, not when it comes time to public policy. So continue to carry that torch, Ed, to you and your colleagues. Continue to show that field, that platform can exist. And as you do that, just as in the past, Canada has become a better place because of your group, it will continue to be a better place in the future. Thank you for your good work.